Hello guys, welcome to the video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. Now the first question you may ask yourself is what is HTML? Now HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language, is the language for specifying the static content of web pages. Now what does this mean? For example, whenever you open any website, for example, I'm using Firefox browser and this is the default page, and any web page which you see on web browser has a code behind it and it's written in HTML along with some other languages like JavaScript, PHP, or some styling sheets like CSS and other stuff. But the static content which you see, for example, some paragraph or some heading or some other stuff like tables and links, it's all HTML. Now, whenever you open your web page, any web page, you just right click on it and just click on view page source. It's available on any other browser like Chrome or Safari. You just right click and just click on view on source, and here you will see all the HTML code which is responsible for this page, right? So this is all written in HTML. Now what is the meaning of static? There are two kind of web pages. One is dynamic web page and other is static web page. So static web page is a page in which you can only see the content. For example, you can see tables, paragraphs, or some article, headings, and other stuff. And a dynamic page is a page in which you can interact with the web page. For example, you can submit your username and password to your Gmail account or Facebook account, and then it authenticates this username and password with the server side scripting, and then you get your login as access, right? So this kind of pages are called dynamic pages, okay? But all the web pages which you see on your browser have this kind of code, and the static content of all the pages are due to this HTML. Now, what is the history of this HTML language, right? So in the year 1991, the first version of HTML came, which was really basic and it doesn't include any multimedia like video or audio or any other content. And then it was in 1995 the second version of HTML came, which was HTML2. In 1997 the third version, which was HTML 3.2 came, and in 1999 the fourth version came, which was 4.0.1, and in the year 2000 came the version called XHTML, and recently in the year 2014 came the newest version of HTML, which was HTML5. Now what are the new features in HTML5? So in HTML5 it came with new tags, features, and APIs. Now this is the list, which is non-exhaustive list of features that tend to be labeled as HTML. For example, new structural elements like header, footer, nav, which stand for navigation bars, and other tags are introduced in this version. Then the new form came, which was called Forms 2.0, and the client side validation came in HTML5. Then native browser support for audio and video also was introduced in HTML5 using this tag called video and audio. And then one more thing which was introduced is Canvas API and SVG. The other thing is web storage, offline applications, geolocation, drag and drop, and web workers are also introduced in the new version. And the last but not the least is the new communication API, which was servers and events and web sockets are also introduced in HTML5, right? So HTML5 came with these new features, but these are not only feature which came. There are a huge list of new feature which came with HTML5, and that we are going to learn. But in this video series we are also going to learn all the basic concepts in HTML itself, like how we can create our first web page and how to start from the beginning by creating your web page to creating a full-fledged web page with interactive things. Right now, to get started with HTML, what do we need? We don't need much. We just need a text editor, which can be any editor, for example Notepad++, Edit+, Dreamweaver, TextMate, and there are some advanced IDEs for developing your website using HTML, which can be Eclipse, NetBeans, Visual Studio also supports HTML, and other advanced IDEs. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment, which you can use to develop HTML pages. Now, second thing you need to test your web pages is the web browser. It can be any web browser, for example Firefox, Internet Explorer, Chrome, or Safari. Okay, so we can test on any web browser, right? Now let's see how we can create a simple HTML web page. Okay, so I'm not going to explain the content which I'm going to use inside the HTML page, but we are going to create how we can create a HTML page. So just go to your any folder in which you want to create this file, right click on it and then new and click text file, and in here delete everything and just write the name of your HTML page, for example index.html, and then just click yes, and it's going to become a HTML page. Now you can open this HTML by varieties of editors, for example Notepad++, as I said, or native Notepad which was available in Windows. So you can just right click, open with, and you can just choose for WordPad or Notepad from here. Okay, so just open it in WordPad, for example, and in here you just write your code for HTML. Right now the basic code in HTML looks like this, and this I'm going to explain you everything, each and everything, what this is and what this head is and what the body is. Everything I'm going to explain in the later videos, but this is what you can say a basic HTML page. Now you can save this by clicking save button, and it will be saved. And once your document is saved, what you can do is go to your HTML file and right click on it, and then you can open with any browser here. So I am going to open it with Firefox, and it's going to look like this. So we have the heading and the paragraph, and here it's called the page title. These are the things I'm going to explain you in details in the later videos, but the basic web page will look like this on your browser, right? So just be ready to develop our own HTML web pages. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. In this video we will see how to download and install few editors for developing HTML web pages. Now in this video I'm going to talk about two editors. One is really simple and easy, which is Notepad++, and second is Eclipse IDE, which is really advanced but easy to use. Okay, so first of all, how to download and install Notepad++. You just need to search for Notepad++, and the site here will pop up, will be from notepad-plus-plus.org. Just click this link, and if you want to read more about Notepad++, you can read it from here. But otherwise, you can go to download, and in here you have this Notepad++ installer. Just click this, it will be downloaded in the form of exe file. Just run it. It's really simple, and it will be installed in 1 minute, I can say. So once you have installed Notepad++, you just need to click this icon here, and it will look like this. And for the first time, when you want to create a HTML file, you can just click new from here, or go to file and click new, and then save it as. So just right click on it and save as, and choose the folder where you want to you want to create this file, and in the extension you need to choose HTML from here, and then you just need to give the name to your file, for example test.html, and save it, and it will be saved in the form of HTML, and you can start writing your HTML code like this. Okay, so once you have written your code, you can save it, and then just go to run, and then you can launch your code in Firefox, Internet Explorer, Chrome, Safari, or other browsers, right? So this is Notepad++. Now in order to install Eclipse IDE, it can be a little bit overwhelming, but I can guarantee you it will help you in the longer run. So for installing Eclipse IDE, first of all, you need to have Java JDK installed on your system. And Java, you can install it by going to the Oracle website. So just search for Java JDK, and the first link which will pop up here will be from oracle.com, and then some extension. Just click this link here, and you will see Java here. I will put the link in the description of the video which I have made to install Java JDK on your Windows operating system, so you can see it and see how we can install Java JDK on our Windows operating system, including the environment variables. Okay, so just click that link, and then you can see how I have installed Java JDK. Once you have installed Java JDK and set up your environment variable for Java JDK, then you can go to install Eclipse IDE. Now in order to download Eclipse IDE, the simple thing is to search for Eclipse download, and the first link which will pop up here will be from eclipse.org/downloads, and go here, and in here you will see variety of Eclipse IDE for developing Java, for developing C++, PHP, and other languages. But what we want is Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers. Okay, so we want this first link which says Java EE. Okay, and if you read it carefully, it says tool for Java developer creating Java EE and web applications. So we are going to develop web applications. That's why we want to use this, right? Now in order to download it, you need to know which operating system you have. You have 64-bit operating system or 32-bit operating system. In most of the cases you will be having 64-bit, but just be sure which operating system you have. I have 64, so I will click 64-bit operating system here, and then you will see this download link from the mirror which is closest to you. Mine is this mirror which is closest to my location, or you can see other download links when you scroll down, right? And they even have some links which are faster. For example, IBM, you can click this link and you will be able to download Eclipse IDE really fast from these sites. And in order to download it, you just need to click download 64-bit, right? And click save. Okay, Now it's a relatively bigger file. It's around 270 megabytes, so you need to wait for a few minutes to download this file. I have already downloaded this file, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this folder where I have downloaded this zip file. So this will be a zip file with the extension zip. You can see here in the properties, right? Now you need to extract this, so right click on it, extract all, and give the location where you want to extract this file. Okay, so I'm going to give the location where I want to extract this, which is inside this folder which I have created, and I will click OK and I will click extract. And this extraction also going to take some minutes because it's a big zip file, right? So this extraction is going to take few minutes. In a meanwhile, you can grab some coffee or some tea for you while it's extracting, right? So once your Eclipse zip folder is extracted, it will look like this. So there will be an Eclipse folder, and when you go inside this Eclipse folder, you will be able to see all these files. And what you need to do is you need to choose this Eclipse, which has this Eclipse icon here, and right click on it, and you can see these options. You can pin it to your taskbar. This will pin this Eclipse to the taskbar, and you can even make a shortcut for Eclipse, and you can drag and drop this shortcut to your desktop here, and then you can open Eclipse from here. Now double click on Eclipse, and for the first time when you open Eclipse, this is the common error. If this error doesn't appear to you, then it's really good, but this is really common error which says JVM terminated, exit code is equal to 2. And if you face this error, then how to solve it? You can solve it really easily. So what you need to do is you just need to go to your search option and search for system here, and in the system you just need to click advanced setting, and in advanced setting go to environment variables, and in environment variables go to path here. Okay, and in the path you will be able to notice here that there is a wrong Java path which is by default added by Windows 8. I don't know how it's added to this path variable. You need to remove it, right? So it will look like this. This path is something like C:/program data/oracle/java/java path. You just need to remove this with semicolon. Okay, so in my case it's at the first place. I will remove it from here, and make sure that the real Java path is already provided in your environment variable, which will be something like C:/program file/java/jdk/bin and jre/bin. Okay, and click OK and click OK and click OK, and then once again when we run our Eclipse, it will run. Okay, so double click it, and now it's running. Okay, so this is the simple way of solving this problem. Now for the first time when Eclipse starts, it will ask you for choosing your default workspace. The workspace is nothing but the location where all your project will be saved. Okay, and it will give you the default option also. So just choose the default option from here and click OK. Now you will be able to see this kind of perspective in Eclipse. So this is for the first time when you open your Eclipse IDE, it will look like this. Now creating your project, you just need to go to here files and go to new, and here you will be able to see so many options for creating projects, right? So let's create a quick project in Eclipse for developing HTML files. So what you need to do is you just need to go here new and choose static web project. So just choose this static web project, and in here give the name to your project, for example my test project, and you can click next to see what are the other options. This will be your content folder name, and then click finish and click yes. And once you click yes, what you need to do is you just need to go here at the left hand side, and just below your file there will be a small button which says restore. You just need to click this button here, and then you will be able to see your project here. Okay, and here you can see the welcome screen. You can just resize it, or you can just close it from here like this, and then you can go to your project, and in here you will be able to see this web content folder. Right now it's empty, so you can right click it, and you can create a new HTML file. So just go to new and then click HTML file option and give the name to your HTML file, for example test.html. okay, click next, and these are the default options, and then click finish, and it's going to create a HTML file with some default content for you. Right now, in order to run this, I will just quickly run this, but I will describe all this code in the next video line by line. Let's run it once. Now to run this HTML file, what you can do is you can go to your project once again and go to this web content folder, and here is your test.html file. So you can right click on it, and then you can just click open with, and click open with web browser. Okay, and it's going to open your HTML file in the web browser, which is inbuilt in Eclipse. Okay, and if you change something here, so this is my test file, for example, you write something, save it. So to save it, you just need to click this button, and then once again when you refresh this web browser page, you will be able to see your message here. Right, so right click on it, open with, and in web browser, and you will be able to see your file in web browser. Okay, so this is the output of your HTML file. So in this way you can install Eclipse IDE for developing your static HTML pages in Eclipse IDE. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. In the last video, I have shown you how you can download and install Eclipse IDE and Notepad++ code editor in order to write your HTML code. Now in this video, we will look at the basic structure of HTML code in detail, and we will see what every term means in HTML. So we are going to create a new project in Eclipse, which will be static project, and I'm going to name my project as my HTML, or you can name it anything. Click next, and this will be the default folder in which your HTML document can reside, which is web content, and click finish. It's going to create you a project. Now if you have already opened a project, you will see two projects in your Eclipse Project Explorer. Now if you want to close your previous project, you just need to select your previous project, right click on it, and you can just close it. Closing just means that this project is closed and it will not be taken into the consideration in Eclipse. But if you want to delete it from this Project Explorer, what you can do is right click it and just click delete, and it's not going to delete this project from your computer unless you check this checkbox. It's going to delete this project from your Project Explorer here, right? So now we have our project here. Now in the web content, we are going to create a new HTML5, which we will name it as for example test.html and click finish, and it's going to create a basic HTML page for us, and Eclipse gives us this default HTML code to us also. Now let's go in detail and let's see what each term means in HTML. So first of all, we will start with the comments. Now, in order to write some comment, you just need to give this angle bracket and then this exclamation mark and then two dash symbols like this, or minus symbols, and then minus minus and this angle bracket, and whatever you write in between, it will be taken as a comment. Now comment are not the part of the code, but they help us to read the code in a better way. So they help us in code readability, right? Now what are these things? So first of all, there are three terms you need to understand in HTML. First is called a tag, and a tag is just these two angle brackets. And you can see here every element in HTML has this angle bracket, right? So this and this. Now whatever you write in this angle bracket is called tag name. Okay, so this is a tag name, and generally we have starting tag and closing tag. So tag name, and this is called a starting tag, and this is called a closing tag. And the difference between starting tag and closing tag is this forward slash. So whenever you add this forward slash in a tag, it's a ending tag, otherwise it's a starting tag. And there is one more term which we call element. So starting tag and ending tag and whatever you write in between, for example some content inside the tag, it's called the element. So an element has starting tag, some content, and a closing tag, right? Now there is one more term which is called attribute. Now an attribute is something which you can add to the starting tag, for example some ID, and then you give the description of this attribute, for example description. Okay, so this is called the attribute. Okay, so we have understood what is a tag, what is an element, and what is an attribute. Now let's get started with our code. Okay, so in here, first line you can see here is called a doc type, and in detail it's called a document type, and this helps the browsers to recognize that it's a HTML page, right? So this is just like a preamble for an HTML page. So first of all, you need to add this doc type in every HTML page as a first line of every HTML file. Okay, now I'm going to delete everything and let's write it everything once again. So first thing is the document type, and document type start with this symbol and then just write doc type and then write HTML. Okay, HTML is a non-case sensitive language, so it doesn't matter if you write this word in capital or mixed letters or small letters, it will interpret as same, right? So you can write it like this or you can write it like HTML, it will be the same, right? Now every HTML code start with these HTML tags. Okay, and this tells the browser when it interprets it that this is the starting of your HTML code and this is the ending of your HTML code, and in between whatever you write will be the content of your HTML. Now in a HTML document, we have two main tags or main categories. One is called a head and other is called the body. So a head is something like this, and in the head you can add the title of your HTML page and some metadata which you don't want to show, but it's a part of your HTML page, right? Now just below this head comes the body tag, right? And in this body, whatever you will write, it will be the content of your web page. So it will be shown. For example, you want to add a paragraph, heading, or tables, it will be enclosed in the body. Now the main tag or main element inside the head you can write is a title for your HTML document. So just write title, and whatever you write here will become the title. So you can say my title, okay? And you can save this, and you can just run your HTML page by right clicking on it, and you can just open with the web browser, okay? And you can see right now you don't see anything, but here on the top you can see my title, and this my title is due to this text, okay? Or you can just change it my HTML, save it, and when you refresh it from here, it becomes my HTML here, right? So this will become the title of your HTML web page. Now you can open this HTML page from your web browser also, which is not the native Eclipse, but for example Firefox or Chrome browser, you want to open your HTML. What you can do is you can just go to the location where your project is, and most probably it will be in your computer name, then workspace, then your project name. In my case, my project name is my HTML. Then go to web content folder, and here I can see this test.html. You can just right click on it and then open with Firefox, okay? And it's going to open it like this, and you can see the title is my HTML, right? Now inside the body, whatever you write, it will become the body, or it will be shown here, right? So for example, there is a tag called paragraph, and you can add it like this, and inside this whatever you write, it will be considered as a paragraph. So for example, save it and refresh your web page, and then you will see this paragraph in the body of your web browser, right? Now there is one more popular tag which you can use here is the heading tag, and there are different type of headings, but for now let's add a h1 tag here, and you can say heading, okay? And refresh your web page, and it will become your heading, right? Now there are two more main thing which can be used in an HTML document. One is the language you want to use in the HTML document, and this is an attribute you can add to your HTML tag. So for example, you can add this tag in the starting of your HTML tag, and this attribute is called lang, okay? And then you can add different languages to your HTML tag attribute. For example, most commonly used is English, but there are many languages which are supported here, and this you can see when you Google for list of ISO 639-1 codes, and here you can see each and every code of every language which you can use here. Now second important thing here is a metadata tag called meta, okay? And here you can add an attribute called charsat, and most generally we use UTF-8, but you can use other type of character set encoding also, but this is the most widely used character set in HTML. Okay, now you will notice here that this meta tag only have starting tag, it doesn't have ending tag. So it's not necessary to have in all cases the ending tag. Some tags are okay with the starting tag also and with an attribute also. So what we have learned today: what are tags, what are elements, what are attributes, and basic structure of HTML documents. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. In this video, we will see how to use meta tags in HTML. Now, first of all, what is a metadata? A metadata is something which shows you the information about your real data, right? So a metadata will not be displayed on the page but will be machine passable. So for example, some search engine wants to parse your web page, they will look at your metadata and parse your web page and even index your web page on their search result on the basis of metadata. There are variety of parameters on which this search result depends, and metadata is one of them. Okay, now what can be a metadata? A metadata can be a description or a keyword, or you can add the author of this document, or you can add when this document was modified, or other metadata which I'm going to show you. Now, how you add this metadata? So generally you add this metadata using meta tag inside your head. So go inside your head and just write meta, and we have 2 or 3 attributes for our meta tag. One is name, and name is the name of the attribute we are going to add. The second one is the content, and content will be the value of the attribute which is related to this name. Okay, so for example, we want to add the description, we just add description attribute name. Now for example, I want to make this page for HTML tutorials. So this description can be HTML tutorials for beginners or some other description related to the HTML tutorials, right? And in the same way, you can add one more meta tag, and this can be the keywords. So here you can add keywords, and these keywords are preferred to be related with your web page content. So this is for HTML tutorial, for example. So I can add keywords like HTML, HTML5, tutorials, CSS or HTMLX or JavaScript, for example. So these can be some example keywords you can add to this page, right? Now the maximum length is not limited for the description or the keyword, but the preferred length for description is about 160 characters, because after this Google search or other search engines cuts your description and pass only up to 160 characters of description. In the same way, for keywords, you can add around 200 characters of keywords. You can add any number of keyword, but it's preferred to have 200 characters, right? Now, in the same way, you can add one more meta tag, which is the author of your content, for example. Now, there is one more kind of meta tag, which is called robot. So just write robot. And what is it related to? The robots meta tag provides directive for search engine crawlers, and you can have archive, no archive as a content, or follow or no follow as a content, or image or no image index as a content, or index or no index. So if you use archive or no archive, it indicates that whether or not the page should be archived by the search engine or not. In case of follow or no follow, this indicates whether or not the robot should continue to crawl over pages referenced in the hyperlinks on the page. In a similar way, image index and no image index works, and it indicates whether or not the page should appear on the referral for images for your search engine for your web page, right? And index and no index indicates whether or not page should be included in the search engine index or not. Okay, so generally we use index and follow as our robot meta tags. Now there is one more meta tag which is called HTTP equivalent, and here if you write refresh and if you set any content, for example 1 second, and you save your code and refresh your web page, then it will load after every second. Okay, so it will refresh after every second. You can see here it's refreshing. Okay, and here you can give 1 second or 2 second or 10 second or 30 seconds. So whatever number you give here, it will be refreshed after these many number of seconds. Okay, so these are some of the most used meta tags which you can use in your HTML web page. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. In this video we will learn about paragraphs, headings, pre-formatted text and HTML text formatting tags in HTML. So let's get started. We have already learned how to use paragraph tag in HTML in our previous videos like this, right? And when you want to add multiple paragraphs, you just need to add them like this. And when you save your code and refresh your page, it will look like this. Now each paragraph element is separated by other element by the line break of 2, right? Now for example, you want to break this paragraph in 2 lines. What you can do is you can add this tag called BR and it will break your line into 2. So save your code and refresh it and it breaks this paragraph in 2 lines. But you can see there is no line space in between these 2 lines. But this paragraph and this paragraph is separated by 1 line space here, right? So in this way you can add multiple paragraphs and breaks in HTML. Now let's talk about heading tags in HTML. So there are basically 6 type of headings you can use in HTML, and which are like this. So the biggest heading you can use is H1 and the smallest heading you can use is H6. So H1 is the biggest font size and H6 is the smallest font size. And when you go to H2, H3, H4 and H5, it will decrease your font size when this heading tag number increases. So save your code and refresh your web page, and you can see the heading 1 or H1 tag creates the biggest heading and H6 tag creates the smallest heading. Now let's talk about pre-formatted text tag. So you can use a tag like this for pre-formatted text. This means the spaces and your line breaks are preserved whenever you add some text in between these pre-tags. So for example, you want to display some code, something like this. I have this C hello world code and I want to preserve these spaces between the code and the line breaks. So I can do something like this. So I can save it and I can refresh my web page and it will look like this. It will look like a code. But if you use a paragraph tag here, see what happens. It will not preserve your line breaks or spaces and it will show you in the straight lines. So if you want to preserve the line breaks and the spaces, you can use pre tags, something like this. Okay, now let's talk about HTML text formatting tags or elements. So basically there are 10 text formatting elements in HTML, which are bold tag, emphasize tag, italic tag, small, strong, sub for subscripted tags, and SUP for superscripted tag, INS for inserted tag, DEL for deleted text, and mark for marked text. Now let's see how we can use them and how they look like when you use them. So I will delete this and I will add all these tags. So you can use these tags, for example, bold tag or emphasize tag inside your headings or your paragraph tags or any other tags like lists and tables, which we will learn in the later videos, right? So for example, you want to show a paragraph with bold text, then you can use this bold tag, something like this. So just add this bold tag here and bold ending tag here, and it will be bold. Okay, so similarly you can use em tag or emphasize tag like this to emphasize your text. For italic you can use I. For strong you can use strong itself. For small text you can use small tags, something like this. For deleted text you can use DEL, and deleted means it will give you a cross or it will give you a line on your text, right? You can use INS for inserted text, you can use sub for superscripted text, marked for marked text, and SUP for superscripted text. Now let's see how they look like when we see them on the web page. So refresh the page, and this is our bold text, emphasized text, italic text, this is our strong text, and this is our small text. This is our deleted text, which gives you this line on your text. This is our inserted text, which will give you this line on the bottom of the text. This is the superscripted tag, something like little bit below the normal text. This is our marked text, and it will give you this yellow mark on your text. And this is our superscripted text, which is little bit above from our normal text. So in this way you can use paragraphs, breaks, headings, and text formatting elements in HTML. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. Now in this video we will learn about quotations and citations elements, and additionally we will also learn how to use computer code elements in HTML. So let's get started. So here are some of the tags which you can use as quotations and citation elements. And first tag which you can use is abbreviation or ABBR, and this abbreviation element represents an abbreviation or optionally provides a full description of your text. Okay, now second type of element which you can use is this address, and as the name suggests you can use it for describing some address of some old location. Third type of element which you can use here is BDO or bidirectional override element, and using this element you can decide the direction of your text from left to right or right to left, right? The fourth type of element which you can use here is the block quote element, and this type of element you can use to quote a section of your paragraph which is taken from some other source. Okay, the next type of element which you can use here is cite element or citation element, and this element you can use to represent a reference to a creative work. For example, you want to show some ISO code or something like this which has something to do with creative rights, then you can use citation element. And the last element which you can use is this quotation element, which helps you to show a quotation on a line of text. Okay, so let's see how we can use them in real life HTML code. So in here you can see I have a paragraph and I use here quotation element here. So inside the paragraph you can use this quotation element, and this will provide the double quotes around this text which is inside your quotation element, right? The next type was the block quote. And if you want to quote some text which you have taken from some website or some other source, you can do it inside this block quote element, right? For example, you take this content from the website, then you can use the site attribute, and then you can provide the link where you have taken this code from. Okay, so this is block quote. Now the next type is abbreviation, right? Now, for example, you want to show the user that this is an HTML text, but when he hovers over your HTML text, you want to show some description of it, or you want to show the full form of HTML, which is hypertext markup language. Then this abbreviation element will help you for this. Then the next type is the address element, and as you can see, you can show the address of some place inside this address element. The next type is the citation element. Now you can see here I have a paragraph here. More information can be found in ISO 00 or whatever ISO number it is, right? So this is some creative content which I can use inside my web page, but I can provide this citation so the reader will know that it is cited from somewhere, right? Now the last type of element which you can use is BDO, right? So normally when you write a paragraph, you will include in this paragraph tag, and it will be shown from left to right. Now in some cases there are some languages which start from left to right. Then you can use this BDO element inside a paragraph element, and you can provide the direction by this attribute called dir is equal to RTL. RTL stands for right to left. So then your text will be shown from right to left. So for example, T will come at the extreme left, then H, then I, then S from the left, right? So let's save our code and let's see how they look on the web page. So I will refresh this web page, and you can see first was the quotation element, and you see double quotes here. This paragraph is enclosed by the double quotes. Second was the block quote, and this was the text which we wanted to show inside the block code. So it gives you this quotation. Now next was the abbreviation element, and when you hover over this HTML, you can see the description of HTML which we have provided, right? So it will show you the full form or whatever description you want to provide for this text. Now next was the address element, and this will look like this. The next was the citation element, and we have included this text inside the citation element, and it will look like this. The next was the BDO element, or bidirectional override, and you can see this text starts from left. T starts here, then H, then I, then S. So it's from left to right. Okay, so these are some of the citation elements and the quotation elements you can use in HTML. Now let's see what are the computer code element which we can use in HTML. So the first element which you can use for this purpose is the code element itself, and this element you can use to include some programming language code, right? Now second element which we can use is KBD element, or keyboard input element, which we can use to show the keyboard inputs, right? The third element which you can use is the sample element, and this element intended to identify the sample output from the computer program. Okay, the next element is the variable element, and this you can use to represent a mathematical variable. Okay, and the last element we have already seen is the pre element, and it preserves your line endings and spaces inside your text. Okay, now let's see how we can use them. So I will delete all this code from here. Now first of all, the code element you can use like this. So you have the code element, and then you can include your code inside this code element. Now remember that this code element will not preserve your spaces or line endings. Okay, so for that you need to include this code element inside a pre element in order to preserve the line endings and text, and that we will see later. The next is the KBD element. So for example, you want to show some keyboard input, you can include this inside this KBD element. For example, I want to show that I want to press Ctrl S, then I will include this Ctrl plus S inside this KBD element, and then it will look like a computer input. Okay. Next is the variable element, and you can include a variable name. For example, x is equal to y plus 2. For example, you can include every letter inside this variable element, and it will look like a variable. The last is the sample element, and we will see how it looks like. It will look like a computer output when it's included in this SAMP element. Save this and refresh your web page, and now we can see this here. So first was the computer code element, and you can see here it's not preserving your spaces or line endings, right? So first of all, we need to include this code inside a pre element, right? So just include this inside a pre element like this, and then save your code and refresh your page, and now it will look like this. Okay, now the next was this KBD element, and it will look like a computer input like this. The next was the variable element, and these variables will look like this. And the last was the SAMP element or sample element, and the output of this will look like a computer output. Okay, so in this way you can use quotation elements and computer code elements in HTML. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. In this video we will see how to use links in HTML. So you may have seen links on almost every web page whenever you visit some website. So for example, you want to navigate from one page to another, you click some link and it will redirect you to the other page. So how to add this link? The basic tag which we use for this link is this A tag, okay, or it's called a link tag. And to add a URL or your file name, what you need is you need to have a reference called href, and it's an attribute we want to add, and in these double quotes you give a URL name or a file name. Okay, and in here you can provide the description of the link, right? So for example, I want to give some website path here. For example, this is my website path, http:// and then the website path you want to redirect this page to, right? And here you can give the description to your link. For example, easy online converter. Okay, save your code, and when you refresh your page you will see this link, easy online converter. This is the description, but behind this, when you click this link, it will redirect you to the website which we have written in the href. Okay, So like this, you can replace this by google.com or any other website, and in here you can give the description. Now you can also add some file name here. So for example, I will create a new HTML file inside my web content folder. So HTML5, and this I will name it as file2, for example, .html, and I will finish it, and this creates my second file, and I will just add some description here, file2, for example. Okay, and I save it, and this is the name of my file, file2, right? So when I want to add here the file name, I can just directly write file2.html, right? Same name as your file name. Okay, and here you can write open file2 and save it and refresh your web page, and it says open file2, and when you click it, it's going to open your file2 like this. Okay, so you can see file2.html is open. Okay, now if this file is present in some folder, for example, I will create a folder inside my web content folder. So create a folder, and I can name it as dir, and it's going to create a dir folder, and I'm going to drag and drop my file2.html in my dir folder, and it's going to transfer it inside my dir folder. So now I can give the path dir /file2. Okay, save it and refresh your web page, and once again open the link, and it's going to open the same file, right? So if you have some directory structure, you can do it something like this. Okay, now for example, when you click this link, it's going to open your any link or website in the same tab in which you are working on. And for example, you want to open it in some other tab. For example, here you want to let this website be opened, but when you click this link, you want to open your website in the other tab. How can you do it? You can do it with an attribute called target, and as a target you give a value underscore blank. Okay, save it and refresh your page, and when you click this, it's going to open your file2.html in second tab, right? So you can give a target like blank, or by default it's self. So this is the default target, and you can also give a target like top, which opens the linked document in the full body of the window. Okay, now you can also use a link as a bookmark. So how you can use it? For example, you have a web page which has many topics, topic 1, 2, 3, 4, and for example 100 topics on a single page, and you want to jump from one topic to another topic, for example from topic 1 to topic 6 directly when you click a link. So how you can do it? You can add a paragraph first, and inside the paragraph you can add this link tag, and as an attribute here, href, you can give something like hash and the ID which you want to give it. So for example T5. Okay, and then the description, for example jump to topic 5. Okay, and same ID you just need to give in the heading here. For example ID is equal to T5, so T5, something like this. So this is the reference and this is the ID. So whenever you click this link, it's going to see where this T5 is, and it's going to search this ID, and it's going to jump to this topic here. Okay, so let's save it and refresh our page once again, and here we have topic 1, 2, 3 and 5 is not even visible from here, right? So when I click jump to topic 5, is going to jump to topic 5 here. Okay, so you can use links as a bookmark also. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. In this video we will learn how to use CSS or cascaded style sheets in HTML. Now CSS is whole different topic and it requires many videos to learn CSS, but I'm going to give you a brief introduction how you can use CSS in HTML. So there are three ways in which you can use CSS in HTML. One is internal, second is inline, and third is external. So first of all, let's see how we can use inline CSS with our HTML element. So for example, I have this h1 tag and I have some text inside this h1 tag, and I want to change the appearance of this text. So right now it looks like this, right? So for example, I want to change the color of this text. So what I can do is I can add a style attribute here, and as a style I can add a color, and color can be, for example, red. Okay, I will save it and I will refresh my web page, and now it looks like red, right? You can change it to some other color and save your code and refresh your page and it changes to that color. So this is how you can add inline styling to your element. Now let's see how to add internal styling to our HTML tags. So go inside your head element, and inside the head element you just need to add style element here, and in here in the inside style element, right now we don't need this text attribute. So just inside your style element, what you can do is you can choose the name of your elements. For example, I want to change the font size of this h1 element, right? So I will just write h1, and then inside the brackets, these curly brackets, I can provide the attribute. For example, I want to change the font size, I can choose font size, and then I can choose my size, for example 100 px, which stands for 100 pixels. Okay, I save it and I will refresh my page, and now the font size is changed to 100 px, right? Now for example, I want to transfer this property to this internal style. So what I can do is I can just choose this color colon, and then just below this I can add this property, and at the last I need to add this semicolon here, and now I can remove this style from here and save it, and it will be same style, right? So we can use these styles like this. Now for example, I want to change the background of my body, so I can take the body element from here, something like body, and inside these curly braces I can change the background color, for example background color, and I can choose any color here, for example yellow. Okay, and save it and refresh your page, and the background becomes yellow here. Okay, now let's see how we can add an external CSS file in our HTML. So first of all, we need to create a CSS file. So I will go to my web content folder and I will create a new, and I will choose a new file here, and this time I want to create a style.css file. So just write style.css, and CSS stands for cascaded style sheet, as I already told you. And just save this CSS file here, and in here you can just transfer your style which you have provided here like this. Just copy this, and I will delete this style element from here, and inside your CSS file you just need to give these styles like this. So for h1 tag, same as you have given as an internal style, you can give it here, right? Now to add this CSS file in our HTML file, what we need to do is we need to add a link tag here. So add a link tag, and as an attribute here we add a attribute called rel, and whose value should be equal to style sheet, right? And the second attribute we want to give here is href, as we give in our link, and then is equal to give the path of your CSS file. So it's in the same directory as in my HTML file, so I can directly write style.css. okay, now this will add this CSS file in your HTML file, and then once you refresh your page it will look like the same. Okay, and when you remove some property, for example this background color, and save it and refresh your page, it will remove your property, right? So these are the three ways you can add a CSS file in your HTML file. Now there are two more important things in CSS you need to know. One is called a ID attribute and another is called a class attribute. Okay, so I'm going to remove all the styling code from my styling sheet, and once again I will go to my HTML file, and for example first of all we will learn how to use ID attribute with CSS. Okay, so for example I add an attribute called ID here, and I can define my own ID, for example my ID, and then I can go to my style.css file here, and then here first of all I will give the name of the element in which I want to add this style. So h1 is the name of the element, so just write h1 and then write a hash and then write the name of the ID. So ID name is my ID, right? So write the name of the ID and then add these curly braces here, and then you can provide your property which you want to change, for example color, and I want to change it to red color, right? Like this, and save your code and refresh your page and it becomes red. Okay, so this is how you can use ID attribute with CSS. Now there is one more attribute called class. So for example I delete this attribute ID from my h1 tag and I add an attribute called class here, and I can define my own class. So for example my class, and once again I will go to my style.css file, and instead of using this, what I can do is I can write something like this. So first of all I can take the name of my element which I want to use, so for example h1, because this class is in the h1 tag, right? And then dot my class name which is my class, right? And then these curly braces, and inside the curly braces once again the, for example color attribute I want to change, and this time I want to change it to blue, right? So I will save my code and refresh my web page and it becomes blue. So in this way you can use class attribute in CSS and HTML. Okay, so that's it for CSS. I hope you understood the basic concept how to use CSS in HTML. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. In this video we will see how we can add an image to our HTML page using IMG, and what are the various ways we can use IMG element in HTML. So let's get started. To add an image to your web page you need an element called IMG, and this mainly has two attributes. One is alt and other is source. So alt is just like a description for your image, for example my sweet image, and source is the location where your image is located. So for the location, let's create a folder inside our web content folder. So I'm going to create a folder and I'm going to name it as img. And inside this img folder, what I'm going to do is I have this image for HTML logo. I'm going to drag and drop into this image folder, right? And just say copy file and click OK. And it's going to place my image inside this image folder. Now to give the source path, here I will just write img slash my image name, so html.png, right? So the name of my png file, right? So I will save my code and refresh the web page, and I can see this HTML logo here on my web page, right? Now there is one more attribute which we can use here, is the size attribute, right? So you can give the width and height to your image, something like this. So there are two ways of giving width and height to your image. One is you just need to give width attribute and give the number of pixel you want, for example 600 pixel as a width, and same for height, for example 600 pixel for height. Okay, save it and refresh the page and it will look like this. Okay, the second way of giving the width and height is using style attribute. So just add a style attribute and then just add width here, and as a width you just need to add 600 px and then semicolon and then the height, and once again give 600 px. Okay, and it will result in the same way, right? So when you refresh the page it will be same because it was earlier 600 pixel. For example, I do it something like 400 by 400 and save the page, refresh it, it's going to become 400 by 400 pixel image. Okay, now you not only can use the local images, you can also use the images which are on some server. For example, you have some image on some website and you have the URL of the image, you can directly add as a source of your image in here. So for example, I will just give the source of the image which I have on my website, and I will save it and I will refresh it, and it's going to show this image which is on the website. Now let's see how we can add a image with a link. Okay, so to add an image with a link, what you can need to do is you need to add a normal link tag, and inside this link tag you just need to place your image, something like this. Okay, so your image tag, and as a reference, so href, you can give the location of the file which you want to redirect to. So for example, I want to redirect to this file 2.html inside my directory folder. I can just locate something like this, dir, and then the file name, file 2.html, and save it and refresh your web page. And once you click this image, you will go to the page which you are linked to. So the HTML page which you are targeting, it will go there. Okay, now let's see how we can add a background image to our HTML page. So I'm going to remove all this, and to add a background image there are two ways. One is just give in your body, give an attribute called background and give the location of the image which you want to set as background. For example, I want to set this image itself as a background, so I just write img slash html.png and save it and refresh your web page, and it's going to set this image as a background, and if this image is of smaller size than your web page size, then it's going to repeat. Okay, so it's going to repeat something like this to cover your web page. Okay, the second way of adding this background image is using a style element. So just add a style element, and inside your style element you just need to write body, and inside these curly braces you can add a attribute called background image, and as a value you just need to give URL, and then inside the bracket you just need to give the location of your image. So just copy the image from here and paste it here, and I'm going to remove this attribute from here and save it and refresh your web page, and it will be the same. Okay, now suppose if you don't want to repeat this image, you just want to show it once, what you can do, you can just add an attribute called background repeat, and as a value you can give no repeat. Okay, and save your web page and refresh it, and it's going to look like this, so it's not going to repeat. Okay, now suppose you want to use your image with a paragraph. So for example, I'm going to add a paragraph tag here, and I'm going to add some random paragraph here, and I will save it and refresh it, and my paragraph looks like this. So my image, and below this my paragraph. But for example, I want to use this image beside a paragraph. What I can do is I will just copy this image element, and inside my paragraph tags I can add this image element inside the paragraph element, right? So just inside the paragraph element I will add it. Now when I save it and I refresh it, the paragraph will still remain on the bottom and not on the side of the image. Now to solve this problem, what we can do is go to your image element, and in here with the style you just need to add one more attribute called float, and with float you can add float right or float left. Okay, so for example for float right, and save your code and refresh the page, and now your image is on the right and your paragraph is on the left. Okay, now if you do just opposite of this, for example float left, and save it and refresh your web page, now your image is on the left hand side and your paragraph is on the right hand side. Okay, so in this way you can use image element in HTML. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. In this video we will see how to use lists in HTML. So there are two types of list you can use in HTML. First is unordered list, which is something like this, which has no order, and second is ordered list, which has some kind of ordering. It may be numbered ordering, or it may be alphabetical ordering, or it may be any other kind of ordering. So let's see how we can use these type of lists in HTML. So first of all, we will see how we can create a unordered list. Okay, so to make an unordered list you need the tag called UL, which stands for unordered list, and inside this tag you need to have list items. So just give li and it will add a list item, and inside this list item you can add your name of your list or description of the list. Okay, so I will add two more items like this, and then for example I want to have a list of names. Okay, so then what I can do, I can just give the name, for example something like this. Okay, I will save my code and refresh my web page, and it will look like this. So this is an unordered list. Okay, now unordered list also can be of different types. So you can add a attribute called style here, and then inside the style attribute value you can add this line. So just add list minus style minus type, and by default the type is disk or description, which is like this by default. When you save it, it will look like this. So it's the default type, right? But when you change this disk, for example, to circle like this, and save it and refresh your page, then you can see you have small bullets in front of your list items, right? Or you can have a square here. So square, and save it and refresh your web page, and your bullet becomes squared. Okay, or you can have one more option here, which is none. Okay, and when you give this option and when you refresh your web page, there is no bullet in front of your list items, right? So for unordered list you have these items. Now to create a ordered list, first of all I will remove this style attribute from here, and to create a ordered list, instead of ul you just need to replace it with ol, which stands for ordered list. Okay, and the default type is numbered type, so it will look something like this. So 1 2 3 4, right? But this can also change. So when you add a attribute called type here, and for example by default it's numbered, so you can write 1 here and it becomes numbered list. So it's like the same. Okay, and when you replace this number 1 by capital A, let's see what happens. So I will save it and refresh my web page, and now you can see my list is ordered by capital letters. Okay, for example, we want to order our list with small letter. You just need to replace this capital A by small a and refresh your web page, and it will look like this. Okay, or for example you need a Roman numbered ordered list, then you just need to write capital I and save it and refresh your web page, and it becomes Roman letter in capital Roman letter, you can say, right? And same you want in small Roman letters, then you just need to write I here and save it and refresh your web page, and your list becomes small Roman letter ordered list. Okay, now you can also create a nested list. So to create a nested list, for example, my list is ordered list right now, and for example I want to list out for each name some favorites, for example, right? So I can go just below my list item where I want to create a list once again, and for example I want this time unordered list, so I can just write unordered list like this, and in here once again I can add list items, right? For example, John likes tea and John likes coffee, and save it and refresh it, and you see it becomes list inside a list, so nested list. Okay, so you can also have nested list like this. Now you also have one more type of list, which is called description list. Okay, and as the name suggests, it starts with DL, so just write DL and it becomes description list. And inside this description list you can have description terms, so DT, which stands for description terms, and here you can have some terms, so for example term, right? And then you have a tag called DD, which is called description detail, and here you can add the detail of this term, right? So description of the term, something like this. Okay, and you can add multiple terms and descriptions and save it and refresh your web page, and your term and description of the term looks like this. Okay, so in this way you can use lists in HTML. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. In this video we will see how to use tables in HTML. So let's get started. First of all, to add a table you need a tag called table to add it, and inside the table you have some more elements. So for every table we have rows, so we need to add our table row element first. So just add tr, which stands for table row. Okay, and inside the table comes our columns, right? So for columns you use a tag called td, which stands for table data. Okay, and here you can provide your content. For example, we are making some table for name, surname, and the marks scored by a student, for example something like this. So the first column here is the name, and the second column we are going to add is the surname, and the third column we are going to add here is the marks scored by him. So for example 90 marks, right? So td, you can think of it as a column, tr is the table row, and table is the parent of all, right? So you can add in the same way multiple table rows inside your table, something like this, one row below another, right? So right now we have a table with 2 rows with 3 columns each, right? So we are going to save our code and refresh our page, and it looks like this. Now you will see here there is no border in the table. So to add a border you need to add a attribute to your table, which is called border itself, and you can provide here 1, then it will have the border. So save it and refresh your web page, and it's going to give you this kind of a border. Now if you want to stretch your table to the width of your browser web page, what you can do here is add an attribute called style, and add an attribute called width here. So width is equal to 100%. Okay, so just add 100% here, save your web page and refresh it, and it will stretch to 100%. Okay, now if you want to add a heading to your table, what you need to do, you can just add one more row, something like this, and instead of using td, which stands for table data, you can use th, which stands for table head. Okay, so th for column, and here also th and th, and here you can give some heading, for example name, surname, and marks. Okay, and save it and refresh your web page, and it will give you the heading to your table. Okay, there is one more element which you can add to the table, which is called caption. So just add a element called caption, and inside the caption you can give the caption to your table. For example, my name table. Okay, save it and refresh your web page, and it's going to give you a caption for your table. Okay, now to add more styles to your table, what you can do here is in your head you can add a style element, and inside the style element you can add the style for table, for example, so table, and include table head and table detail here, so th comma td. Okay, and for example I want to remove the border from here and I want to add it in the style attribute here. What I can do here is I can add a border like this. Okay, so The width of the border is 1 px, and it's solid and it's black. Okay, save it and refresh your web page, and you have the same border. Now you can see here the border is of 2 lines, right? Now if you want one line here, you can collapse your border. So you can add an attribute here, border minus collapse, and then add collapse here. Okay, and save it and refresh your web page, and it's going to collapse this border like this. Okay, now one more property you can add here is the alignment for your text. So you can add text minus align, and you can align it to the left, for example. So left, and save your web page and refresh it, and it will align your text to the left. You can do the same for the right, so just add right here, save it and refresh it, and it's going to align your text to the right. So I will use the left one for now. Now there are 3 more special elements you can add to your table element, which are table head, table body, and table foot. Okay, and these will give you the ability to have extra styles to your tables. Okay, so for example, for the table head, you can add attribute like t head. Okay, and just close it at the end of your row for your header, right? So end it here. And same, you can have the body, so just add t body, and it will add a body for your table, and end it at the end of your body content. It can have any number of rows, right? For the footer, you can add an attribute called t foot and end it here. And this is not going to change anything in your table. So when I save it and when I refresh it, it's not going to change anything in the table. But now it's really easy to use them to change the style. For example, I want to change the style of table head. I can just use th for table head, and then change the background color. For example, background color is equal to red. Okay, and same, I can change the style for table body and table foot. So t body and color is blue, and t foot and the color I choose is yellow. Okay, and save your web page and refresh it, and your row color has been changed. Okay, now there is one more property called column span, so that you can have one column in 2 column spans. Okay, so I will give you an example. For example, I want 2 headings and not the 3 headings. So what I can do is I can remove this middle heading from here, and I can add an attribute called column span, and I can give the span of 2 so that it will cover 2 columns at the same time, right? And save it and refresh your web page, and you can see now marks heading is taking 2 column spans like this. Okay, so in this way you can use tables in HTML. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. In this video we will learn how to use div element, and we are also going to see how we can create a web page design with this div element in HTML. So let's get started. First of all, what is a div element? A div element is an element which you can use to contain other HTML elements. So let's create a div element and let's see how we can use it. So just add this div element, and inside this div element you can use other HTML elements. Like for example, I will use this h1 tag and I will say this is a tutorial, and in here you can add a paragraph also. So for example, this is a paragraph, and here you can give the details about the tutorial. Now if you want to change the style of these two elements, which is h1 and paragraph, you can add this style to this div element. For example, I want to change the background color behind this h1 and paragraph tag, then I can add this style to it. So style is equal to background color, which is yellow, and save your page and refresh your web page. It will give the yellow background to your header and the paragraph, right? So you can use div element to divide your section of your web page. Okay, so using this div element, let's create a web page. So for example, this is my tutorial web page. So first div element I created here is the tutorial. Now second div element I'm going to add here is the div element for creating my navigation bar, which contains some tutorial topics, for example C++, Java or C#. Now I will add a third div element here, which will be the details for the tutorial. So I have a div element. Inside this div element I have a h2 header and the paragraph tag here. Okay, and for the fourth div element I will just use this copyright message, which I want to use it as a footer. So I have four div elements here. First was the header div element, second is the navigation div element, third is the section, and fourth is the footer. I will use it as a footer, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the ID to every div element. So ID for this header, let's say it's header itself, and ID for this navigation is navigation, and ID for this section is, let's say it's section itself, and the ID for the footer div element is foot, for example. Okay, so I have given the IDs to each and every div element here. Now I will go to the head here and I will add here a style element. So style, and inside this style element, first of all I will add the style for this header. Okay, so for this header what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this hash header property of the style, so which will reference to this header ID. And in here I have given the properties for the background color. So background color of this header will be blue, then the color will be white, which is the foreground color, and then the text alignment will be on the center, so it will be somewhere in the center, it will be shown at the center. Okay, and the padding for this I have given 6 pixel. Now for the navigation, let's create a property for the navigation, something like this. So just add a hash and then navigation, and inside these curly braces just add these properties. So the first property I have added here is the line height. So this will be the height of the side bar, and then I have this background color, which will be the background color of this navigation bar. Now the height of this navigation bar is 500 px, which is vertical, and the width of this navigation bar is 100 px, and this is floating to the left. So this is important because we want to show our navigation bar to the left, something like this, right, this area. Okay, and I have given it the padding of 5 pixel here. Now let's add the style for our section ID. So for this area, let's add the style. So just add this style there, which is hash section, and inside the curly braces just add the width, which I have given is equal to 350 pixel, and this section is also floating to the left, and padding is equal to 10 pixel here. Okay, and for the footer, let's give the same width and height as our header. So just copy this thing from here and paste it just below here, and instead of giving the ID of the header, just give here the ID of footer, which is foot. Okay, now we need to add one more property here, which is called clear both, and what this does is it makes the element drop below your floating element. So our navigation and section is our floating element, so our footer will be below these floating elements, right? Save your code and refresh it, and now you can see a header here, and you have this section here, and you have this navigation bar, and you have this nice little footer. Okay, so in this way you can use div element, and you can design your web page using div elements and styles in HTML. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. In this video we will learn about the new element which was introduced in HTML5, which are section, header, footer and nav. So these are the four new elements along with the other elements which are introduced in HTML5, and let's see how we can use them. So in the last video we have seen how we can create this kind of HTML layout page with header, navigation bar and the section and the footer. And for creating this layout, we have used this div along with some ID and the styles. Like for header we have given some style, for navigation also we have given some style here, and we have segregated or divided our code in four section or four divisions, which was header, navigation, section and foot. Right now in HTML5 these four elements are introduced, which are called header, nav, section and footer, which we can use instead of this div element, so your code can be more clear. So for example, in the last video I have defined this div element and I have defined this ID header, right? Now instead of using this div element, you can use a header element like this, and it will still be same, right? And for navigation, instead of using navigation, we will add a element called nav, and in here instead of this div element and ID called section, we can add a element called section and end it with section. And for the last, we have defined a footer div element. So instead of using this div element, we can use an element called footer and end your footer in here. So instead of using these div element with the IDs, you can use these new elements which was introduced in HTML5, which are called header, nav, section and footer. Okay, and for the styling of these elements, what you can do here is, instead of using hash header, you can directly use the name of your element, which is header, and the second element was the nav, which is this element, and then third element was the section element, and the fourth element was the footer, right? Like this. So you can use these four elements and these styles with them, which we have seen in the last video. I'm not going to change these styles, just change the element name here instead of the ID of the element, right? Save your code and refresh it again, and it will be same. And what these elements are doing here, they are helping us to define our style in a easy way for header, footer and nav and section, right? Instead of defining long div and id, you can directly use them, and then your code readability also is better when you use these elements. Okay, so in this way you can use these four elements in HTML5. Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML5 tutorial for beginners. In this video we will see how we can add and use video element in HTML. So to add a video element in HTML, you need to use this element called video, and this video takes the source of the video. So just go between these video element and add a element called source. Okay, and then you can provide the source of your video here. So to add a source, I have this video which I have made in the last video. I'm going to just drag and drop into my web content folder, and it will copy this into my web content folder. So just leave this option copy files and click OK, and it's going to add this inside my web content folder. Same I'm going to do with a picture which I have. So I have a PNG picture and I'm going to drag and drop into my web content folder this also. This picture I'm going to use as a poster for the video in the later section. But first of all, let's see how we can add this source to our video element. So to add this video to the source, you just need to write the name of your video, which is html5.mp4, and you can also add the type of video you are adding. So just add an attribute called type, and in here just write video/mp4. so it's a mp4 video. Okay, now you can refresh your page, and now you can see this video, but it will not start automatically because we haven't added any flag for starting, right? So let's add a flag for automatically restarting this video. So in your video element, just add an attribute called auto play and save your code and refresh it.
Hello guys, welcome to the next
And
video on
now your video will start playing. Okay, now you will still not see the controls to stop or pause this video. So to pause or to have more control for volume and maximizing and minimizing, you can add an attribute called controls here. So just add an attribute called controls and save your code and refresh the web page. And now you can see these controls here. So you have this play and pause button, you have this volume button, you have this full screen button here, right? So this control attribute adds the control to your video, right? Now there is one more attribute which you can add here, is loop. And what this does is it will provide the loop to your video. So for example, your video is finished here, and then it will be replayed again and again until and unless you stops it. Now there is one more attribute here which is called muted. So when you add this attribute called muted and save your code and refresh it, then your video will be muted when it will be loaded. So you can see it's muted when it's loaded. Right now, suppose you want to give the size to your video. So right now it's in its maximum size. Now you want to limit the size of your video. What you can do here is you can add an attribute called width, and you can give the width in pixel. So you can give, for example, 500, and same you can do for height. So just add this height attribute and you can give the amount of pixel you want. Okay, save your code and refresh it, and now your video will be resized. Okay, so let's say it's 600 by 300. Okay, so save your code and once again refresh it, and it resizes your video. Okay, now for example, you want to give the banner or poster to your video. So this is your video, but whenever your web page loads, you want to show some poster on your video. So how you can add it? You can add it something like this. So just add an attribute called poster here and give the location of the picture you want to add here. So just add this, for example, I have this html5.png. I can add it here. So html5.png, and save your code and refresh it, and you will see the picture. But because it's in autoplay mode, so let's remove this autoplay mode and save your code and refresh it once again. Now you can see this picture, and when you start it, your video will be started. Okay, so in this way you can use video element in HTML. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and bye for now.